G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome aboard the Leopard A1A1. Yes, it's Germany's new top-end tank, and it is a beautiful machine, and incredibly fun to drive. I'm honestly kind of surprised by that. I normally don't take to rank 5 tanks all that well, which is why, despite having a huge number of them unlocked, I don't actually put them on channel very often. But this one it's sold me. I'm quite enjoying it. At this point, I've got well over 50 battles into it, and I think I've got the thing half unlocked. Now, this was the first battle that I played with Heat FS available. At the moment, I've got 20 shots in the ammo load, 1 in the gun, and I've got 3 shots of Hesh on board that is basically there for the spags, although I completely forget to use it at the point that I really should have used it, as you'll see here in a moment. So, clearly this is not a first impressions video. I sort of did my first impressions of this tank on the dev server a little over a week ago, and it's not a super impressive battle. In fact, getting super impressive battles in this tank is rather difficult, but that's actually not the fault of the tank. So, first victim straight up. It's a Falcon self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. We're about 2 minutes into the battle at this point, so he was rushing forward heavily. Should have loaded Hesh for the second shot, but I honestly completely forgot that I was carrying it. Flick up to binoculars. It's interesting, the tank gun now has a higher optical zoom than the binoculars do. Second Heat FS in, it's hit his turret ring but hasn't disabled his turret rotation, as you can see. And third Heat FS, that one finishes the job. Yeah, as I said, should have loaded 2 Hesh. Now, as I was saying, it's odd. The Tier 5 tanks, the gun sight now has a higher optical zoom than the binoculars do, but the binoculars have a higher point of view, so they're still worth using because it gets the camera up on top of the tank so you can look over obstacles with them and get a better look at exactly what's going on around you. Now, as I was saying before, getting really exciting battles in this is turning out to be quite difficult, but it's not actually a problem with the Leopard. This patch has really polarised rank 5 ground forces, and I suppose this was actually started happening last patch with the introduction of the ATGMs. But with a few extra ATGMs that are in the game now and the new high-powered self-propelled anti-aircraft guns, honestly, it's polarised rank 5 ground forces. One of 2 things tends to happen in almost every single match. Well, firstly, I should probably clarify something before we go into this. For those of you who haven't played rank 5 battles this patch yet, at the moment, Germany seems to have the smallest number of self-propelled anti-aircraft guns and ATGM tanks on their team. It's not because they're ones that they've got a bad. The Gepard is fantastic. It really is. It's probably the best tank destroyer that Germany has at the moment. It is really powerful and really dangerous. And Germany's new Hot Launcher is also easily one of the most powerful ATGM tanks in the game. But Germany also got a new Leopard, and the Leopard is one of the most popular tanks in War Thunder, so everybody is either driving their old Leopard, getting the new Leopard, or they're already in the new Leopard and are trying to grind unlocks for it. It's not uncommon when you go driving on a straight German team to go into a battle with 16 Leopards at the spawn at the start of the match. Nobody in anything else, and that is a sight to see, especially on that new desert map. 16 Leopards rolling over the dunes, almost in formation, looks fantastic. But as for the other nations, their new toys, we've got the M163, we've got the Shilka, we've got the Swingfire. American, Russian and British teams tend to have an extremely high number of self-propelled anti-aircraft guns and ATGM tanks, usually by more than half. And speaking of the M163, here's one right now. God, those things have a high rate of fire. Core it out, that shuts down its gun for the moment, waiting for the reload. Put some shots into it with a machine gun, but somebody else drills it and puts it down, so there's a kill assist. But anyways, as I was saying, there seems to be an extraordinarily high number of these new vehicles on the other 3 nations. And you can sort of understand why. They're incredibly effective. As I said, the self-propelled anti-aircraft guns are almost better than the tank destroyers. Actually, in many ways, they are better than the tank destroyer options for any of their given nations. And ATGMs have already seen exactly how dangerous those things are. The self-propelled anti-aircraft guns in particular, however, have worked out how dangerous they can be against Leopards. You see, and this took a little while for me to work out actually, when your tank gets put on fire and you activate the fire prevention equipment, somebody actually has to use that inside of your tank, and it turns out in the Leopard, the guy who operates the fire prevention equipment is also the gunner. So should a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun get around your side and shoot your engine and set you on fire, which happens quite regularly I might add, you have to choose between letting the fire burn at the risk of potentially destroying your tank to retain control of your gun so you can kill the self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, or choose to activate the fire prevention equipment, putting out the fire, and losing control of your gun for a couple of seconds. in which time the Spag could just set you on fire again. Now at this point in the match, I'm just running around trying to find people to kill. The enemy team has completely crumbled. They've only got about 3 or 4 tanks left total. We have no idea where they are, although I've just spotted one lit up on the map, so I'm turning the tank around and I'm going over to deal with him. But anyways, as I was saying, your enemy force tends to have a high number of self-propelled anti-aircraft guns and ATGM tanks. Now one of two things tends to happen in the battles. Either A, the enemy team gets into a really good position very quickly, because all of these tanks are incredibly mobile, and starts ripping your team to pieces very, very quickly, and the few main battle tanks that are on the enemy team then simply come through and mop up the rest of your team quite easily. Or B, they don't get into a position fast enough and your team comes through and simply rolls over the entire enemy team before they have a chance to stop you, which is precisely what happened in this battle. This battle went for about 9.5 minutes total from the very start to the final end clock. The actual combat time for the entire team was probably around 4 minutes. So next target, an M103, one of the few heavy tanks the enemy team had. And had is the optimal word there. One Heat FS straight in the side, blows the thing to pieces. There is a reason why people spam Heat FS. It is just so much better than the stock round. It's expensive, yeah, you don't make a profit when you fire a lot of it, but honestly, you're not playing ground forces to make money. If you want to make money, jump into a low-level ground attacker and you'll pull in anywhere between 50 and 100,000 credits in a single match in air forces. And shot the side of the turret, and we have a Chieftain Mark III, and unfortunately I didn't quite disable the gun. He gets a shot in the side. I get very, very lucky he didn't take the ammo rack there, and my return fire executes his tank. So up to 3 kills at that point, and this was pretty much where the battle ended. I let the tank repair, and then I just sat over this end of the world and watched the ticket points count down. There is only one enemy vehicle remaining, and it is a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, and it is hidden in the far corner of the map behind their spawn. And while the team managed to locate him, we never quite got to him to actually kill him before the ticket points ran out. So, anyways, that's the end of the match. Let's go through to the results. So results for the match. Second place for the team with 3 kills and 2 assists. Tank Rescuer X2, Avenger X2, Shadow Strike Streak X3 and the Best Squad. 19,850 Silver Lions with 4,066 vehicle research points and 3,152 modification research points. And as I said, battle time from the very start of the match on spawn in to the time the tickets ran out, 9 minutes and 22 seconds. So, as I said, not a fantastic battle, but getting fantastic battles is actually kind of difficult to get at the moment in Rank 5. As I said, the polarized nature of the battles now means you are either getting crushed or you are utterly destroying the enemy force. And I haven't actually encountered many battles that had a middle ground at this point. As a general rule at the moment, whichever team is going to lose usually has more than half of their force destroyed within the first 4 minutes of the match, with the rest of the match's timer being devoted to whichever team is going to win, moving around the battlefield trying to find those last remaining tanks that are hulled down and hidden as best as they possibly can, hoping to kill as many vehicles as they possibly can before they are finally wiped out. And it's a real shame because I actually really like the Leopard A1A1. It's a fantastic tank and it's a lot of fun to drive. Unfortunately, I just don't like the way the battles are playing out for it at the moment. Actually, if I could get enough players together that had access to rank 5 vehicles, it would be interesting to put together a custom match that only had a limited set number of ATGMs and self-propelled anti-aircraft guns for each side, with the majority of the force consisting of main battle tanks or tank destroyers or standard combat vehicles of the like, and seeing exactly how a battle plays out if you drop the number of those vehicles down. I'd be really curious. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, remember to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Drive smart, drive safe, and I'll catch you on the battlefield.